Shalom, Goyim. Sorry, I'm in the exercisers euphoria. I've been doing push-ups like crazy, and even on the in between days, I'm doing sit-ups and V-ups and abs. So, uh, getting buff. I think. Well, I don't know about buff. I still got stomach fat going on. I think a lot of that has to do with hereditary factors. Like you could tell who's conceived during famines because of specific genetic markers. And so I think that a lot of poor people genetics are famine genetics, and that's why there's people who cannot get in shape no matter how much they eat and exercise, diet and exercise. But I'm chatting with this. I don't know why you'd call him a friend because these are just people on the internet. I didn't even know he was in another country. Turns out he's in Nigeria. He might be Nigerian. Says he's born and raised there. It could all be a big scam. There's no proof of any of this. But if what he says is true, it's kind of hilarious because it seems that Nigerians have an envy of intelligence that's associated with the West, Western civilization. And my observations for that were in our conversation. I was discussing how I don't think Africa, like Nigeria especially, because that's where he lives, has a history of agriculture separate from outside influence, like European, Chinese influence, etc. And I told him that I just read this book that Ashkenazi Jews, which are white Jews, have a 44-point IQ gap above Ethiopian Jews, black Jews. And I said, so you look at the history of Africa, a lot of that suffering could have been prevented with intelligence. Famines are prevented with agriculture. Droughts are prevented with water storage and irrigation. Floods can be, reduced, harm reduction with diversion canals and culverts and things like that. There are ways you can apply intelligence to anticipate and prevent by avoiding disaster. And he said, "No, man, we've always had agriculture in Nigeria." And I said, "I am skeptical of that claim." He said, "No, I could just tell." I said, "Well, what is your source of information?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, when people switch from hunter gatherer to agricultural, they tend to have more free time, which produces systems of writing. I cannot recall the African writing system of any tribe pre-European arrival. It's my understanding that Africans did not invent the wheel before Europeans arrived. The low IQ is why they're so physiologically adverse, right? Why they're so physically strong. If you're dumb, you got to be strong. And this isn't meant to be offensive, just factual, objective analysis of evolution, genetics, etc. He's just like, and so that's when I started picking up signs that he really was Nigerian, and he was trying to fake that, using big words like the white man and stuff. But even with all that, he still like had the low intellect, which isn't a moral condemnation. He's probably a great guy. Seems like it from our interactions. Pretty awesome dude, but not the brightest apparently. But he's at least trying, and that's good, right? I did the same thing when people made me look dumb. I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna read some books. I'm gonna fucking educate myself. I'll show you, right? But he said that because and that's when I pointed out. I'm like, so when writing systems occur, they usually document history. I don't think you observing your current lifespan is 100% an accurate reflection of what was going on there 500 years ago. I don't think you have a vision that gives you the ability to perceive 500 years ago and beyond. But if people document history by writing it down, that's a pretty good help. I don't think Africans invented paper, let alone writing and ink and pens and things like that. And eventually he admitted I was right. But he just knows. He just knows. Just psychic, magic powers. And then we started talking about college and things like that. And he brought up the Baptist University that I'm attending, Liberty University. He said they have a high acceptance rate and a low, graduation rate, low success rate. And my current experience is they are using very specific phrasing like social justice and white European bad, white guilt, big anti white, subversive propaganda, like just garbage. And it's funny because the church is supposed to be like the anti woke, but they're actually very woke themselves, just in different ways. So you just got to select your flavor of wokeness to get ahead, I guess. It's very psychologically manipulative and subversive. And now I'm thinking, because of my conversation with this guy, that the demographic change at Baptist, Liberty University is the same thing happening all over, the same thing happening to this nation. As the demographic shift occurs, so does the decline in the success rate in the university, but just the decline of the United States in general and globally in general. Every country that has seen an influx of migration from third world countries, well, third world genetics create third world conditions. It's not like bringing third worlders to the first world will improve them, it'll decline the first world. And that is exactly what's happening in America. Every year we have lower graduation rates, lower success rates, lower what is that word called for reading? Yeah, lower literacy rates, etc., etc., etc. It's really bad. It's just getting worse. And so I think the ethnic diversity, it's happening in the military too, right? Look at all our losses and failures as we boost the wokeness with the blacks and the gays and the trannies and the women and the all of the protected groups. Yeah. And I got this women mad at me for pointing this out. I'm like, I'm in this cultural anthropology class and they're making blatant false statements that there is no genetic component to culture, that ethnicity and culture are not connected. Genetics produce culture. White genetics produced Europe. African genetics produced Africa. Native American genetics produced Native America. Asian genetics produced Asia. It's not like black people would have developed paper walls like the Japanese in Africa. Eskimos and Northern Europeans on the same latitude developed completely differently because of genetics, despite being in the identical environmental conditions. So it's very interesting.